while ago. Is there any formal policing of our tourism asset in terms of beach houses, guest houses? Is there a policing component of the mandate of the tourism ministry or TTL to make sure that we get these standards in place, or is it up to those who come forward to ask for the certification that there is a business advantage for them versus the others? Whereas if you have a policing mechanism to say if you want to get into the industry, you must meet certain basic standards of offering. Is that something that the ministry or TTL is looking at or doing?
I'll ask Ms. Mubea to respond.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. So with respect to the use of the term policing, I would say no, because TTL does not have that enforcement mandate in terms of ensuring that these properties must be registered or licensed, so to speak, at this particular point in time. However, we do work with properties, we work with all interested persons who would like to open up accommodation spaces within Trinidad to guide them as to the requirements, and that is on a national level, legal and statutory approvals, as well as we provide them with the national standard, or at least how to access it. So at least they are guided as to how to establish and run their operations.
But do you think if that is something that can be mandated, it lifts the entire industry, and that our final product have some consistency across the board? Because one of the challenges that I would find as an MP as well, when we had the cutaway in Manzanilla last year and we lost quite a bit of traffic into Mayaro, the guest house owners and the hotels would say, well, MP, when there are issues in Tobago, there is compensation. We don't get anything here. And the first question I would ask, are you registered with the agencies that look after tourism? Because only at that time we can have an idea what is your business volume, your profile, what is the compensation that we can provide in the interim if we know the data. But I'm saying that it is difficult to improve the industry if I am going to pay $1,500 a night to go into a beach house. And when I get there, there is no water. You smell wood lice all over the place. So it turns me away from coming back to the area, even though there may be a few places that are certified and you will really get the best experience possible. But it stifles the industry. In terms of our proposal going forward, if your agency, or if through the ministry, gets a bit of more mandate legislatively, if you want to get into that industry, before you can even go and put a classified ad in the newspaper, you must have a minimum requirement to make sure that when somebody spends their money, especially part of that 388,000 people that are coming, some will end up in Toko, Manzanilla, Mayaro, Moruga, that there must be a standard across the board in terms of the quality of the place, the housing, the bedrooms, you know. Is that something that will make your job easy in terms of lifting the industry for us in this critical period that we're heading into for the next 5 or 10 years as we try to diversify Trinidad and Tobago?
Who would you like to answer? Rushton?
Yes. And anyone, either the ministry or TTL, anybody who...
I'll take the question. It is something that will improve or make our jobs easier, because we want to be able, without a shadow of a doubt, to say that this list of properties met a certain criteria. So right now it's voluntary. Okay, Marsha spoke about, Ms. Mubea, spoke about TORP and TTIC. If you want to access TORP, you have to have the TTIC certification. However, outside of that, it's really a voluntary program. If it was something that was legislated, that if you have to offer your rooms to guests, whether domestic or international, that you must meet a minimum requirement, or else you can't operate, or else you can't be shut down, then that is something that will make our jobs easier. They do it in other Caribbean islands, other jurisdictions, so it's something that would help us immensely. Because when we do our marketing, and I spoke earlier about packaging and so on, we want to ensure that what we're putting together, even outside of accommodation providers, tour operators, tour guides, tourist transport, we want to ensure that these persons who are providing this service on behalf of the destination, that they meet a minimum standard or criteria. So yes, the answer is yes.
Do you have an idea of the total amount of, I think you have a fair idea from the hotel side of it, 10, 15, 20 rooms and so on for those big organizations. But if I were to ask TTL if you have an idea of the amount of these, what you call these private beach houses or guest houses that operates in Trinidad and Tobago, do you have a feel of that number and what percentage maybe actually have the certification?
Remember, I would say that most of the small, like beach houses that you were describing, those persons would not have any sort of certification. The majority of them would fall into that category of not being certified. I think, and I'm going to go here because I think it is something that we probably need to be aware of. Airbnb has come on the scene. Airbnb has added on their, if you go to their website, they now have more rooms listed on their website than we have rooms, traditional hotel rooms.
Yeah.
Now, because of their business model, they have some advantages in that if you get 3 strikes, you're gone, right? Now, so that is a sort of quality control element in terms of the delivery of their experience. So you're saying to you, listen, we're going to put you on our website. You're making these promises to the customer. If the customer comes to your property and these things are not in place, he now he's going to write you up, and it goes on their website, and then they see the ratings, and if your ratings drop 3 times in a row, you're gone. Now, that works for them because that's an electronic platform. I think in our case, that could be achieved, right? Because most customers today are very much in tune with the electronic world. And I think it is something that we're going to have to look at going forward, rather than trying to deal with everything with a piece of paper, is to use, even in using an app, that the customer could probably give us feedback in terms of the quality of a place, right? So people self-regulate rather than us trying to use the big stick, right? So we can say to the guy, listen, we got 3 complaints about your property, and we have you on our website, we're promoting you. Listen, we're going to have to take you off the website. I'm sorry. Until you improve, you just can't be on the website, because you're basically affecting the overall quality of the destination.
Do you think that, I know the fact that a lot of these guest houses and so on, beach houses, they operate a bit under the radar for a number of reasons, tax purposes and so on. But it creates a whole world of other problems in terms of policing. The Mayaro police tries to do patrols and they make an observation and they can't find an owner. There's no record of the owner of the house. You can't, they see two doors broken into Saturday night, but they don't have a number to call. And we've tried to create databases in the constituency for people to register so the police would know who owns what. And that lack of data is really stifling that whole holistic approach of making your community a safe community to invite. We want 8,000 people to Mayaro every weekend rather than only for Easter. Because, but the fact that the policing of the industry, to me, is so weak, it's hard to do the other things.
Okay.
And I really feel if we ought to want to drive tourism as a real backbone for Trinidad. I mean, I know Tobago is much more advanced in a lot of areas than us here, but it may require a bit of policing, licensing. Change is hard. We like everything the easy way. But if we want to create an industry that is going to be world-class, and 5-10 years down the road, we re-engineer our ports in Galeota to dock 2 cruise ships. We need to have our places at a standard for this 3,000 people that is going to be coming off one of that cruise ship and getting a world-class experience as well. So in terms of planning 5, 10, 15 years going down the road, I really feel that is something that in your internal discussions ought to come up, and I'm sure we're going to put a bit of writing in our report as well, in terms of that being a consideration to really strengthen the industry, taking note of the importance of it for us as a small island developing state going forward. So, Chair, that's my comment on that. Thank you.